That's the level of
that note,
Himawari character development we have.
On that note, I really hope, because I gotta be honest with you, aside from a couple of female characters, they like the female cast in general in Naruto and I guess Boruto to some extent haven't really been written the best. I gotta be blunt. Like I know that might seem like bad, but like the only females as far as character goes that I'm really invested in the entirety of the universe is like Tsunade and Hinata. And Hinata, like, not fully. I think I like her a lot more just because, like, not a lot more, but I like her the most because she just kind of always has Naruto's back. So that was like I remember watching as a kid, like, you know what, at least I know, throughout all this story, at least I know one person that's always going to have Naruto's back in some kind of way. So it's like, I think, I don't know. I think I was always cool with like Hinata, but like as I got older, I'm like, she wasn't written like great at all. I'm gonna be honest.
Hinata was the tuning exams, I think. I think that's when she was written, like just objectively written the best. After that, she's
Yeah.
just likable. She has moments, but I think the tuning exams
Well, and
was
to be
her
fair,
highlight.
that goes for the same for a lot of the Konoha 12.
Yeah,
with the
because it goes for
exception of,
most of the Konoha 12.
yeah. So it's not her fault, but again, like there were other written like better written female characters in general.
I think Tsunade and Kushina are the best too.
Yeah,
Naruto.
where I disagree. I think the
Conan.
females
I
in
think like
Naruto are
Conan.
fine.
I like Conan.
Like, people just take that mistranslation from that early interview with Kishimoto, and they just run with it even to this current day, and it doesn't make sense at all. Oh, I'm not good at
I think it's
writing
not, for me at
female
least,
characters.
it's just that less females were important.
Yeah,
that's the honest truth.
That's what I meant.
You can list 10 males that were integral and had deep character arcs, and then you'll list 2 females by, and that's just, well, I mean, to some extent, I think it's fair that basically in an army, there probably are going to be more males than females because, I mean, it's biology, man. On average, the males are going to be stronger and faster, which works in a combat scenario. So I don't think it's necessarily unrealistic. It's just, I mean, that is just how it is. There are more males in the story than females, basically.
Plus, you can chalk that up to the editor. By the way, because of that, Kamui, you just look at the ratio. And so, there you go. That's right. What you gotta do.
But then you have to look at for every female character, how well they written versus every male character. And I don't know off the top of my head. But
to be fair, this was something I said in one of my previous videos, or recent videos. Like, I'm indifferent towards Sakura. Like, I don't necessarily hate her. I don't necessarily like her that much either. And that's the thing is, like, I hate that I have to say that I don't like her all that much, or that I'm indifferent. Like, I really wish I could say that, like, I liked her as a because again, I think she had a lot of potential. Like, especially even in the war arc. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, there are moments where I was like, okay, I was like, all right, Sakura's getting some some clout here, for a second, and she's kind of redeeming herself for a majority of Shippuden that she was just like not, all there. But I don't know. Like then there's moments where it's like her trying to attack Ten-Tail's Madara, and I'm like, okay, like that could have been the dumbest thing you probably could have done. I mean, I get what she was trying to do, but it's like you definitely could have been better served by something else and not just going full force.
Well,
so
I don't know. At the time, it was a character flaw in the writing. But that's good writing, because Sakura, regardless of what you want to say of whether or not you like her or dislike her, she just objectively does have good writing. Whether or not you like that or not is up to interpretation to the individual. But no one can say she has bad writing. You can say she has good writing. You can argue she doesn't have great writing, because you're comparing her to Naruto and Sasuke, arguably like some of the best written characters and like the best story of all time. So it's not really a fair comparison. It's like saying One Punch Man season 2 was bad because it didn't have the 1 in a million year chance of the perfect animation, god tier, unbelievable odds animation that season 1 did. But no, season 2 was great. It just, you can't.
It's like the thing with Sakura. I think this is because I almost have the backwards, minus like one part of the story. I basically have a backwards opinion on, I feel like, most Sakura people, and it's likable versus good. Most people don't like Sakura, and pretty much most of the time she's the best written, but they like her in pretty much the times when she's honestly the worst written. A lot of people, I mean, you named a couple examples of Sakura in the work, but a lot of people like seeing Sakura being strong in the work. I don't really care about war arc Sakura because that's when she has the least character. Whereas the 5 Kage Summit, Sasuke Retrieval Arc, Chunin exams, those are some of my favorite Sakuras. And a lot of people don't like Sakura so much in those because, oh, she lied to Naruto, or oh, she's crying over Sasuke. But honestly, that's when Sakura has most of her character development. And those are my favorite Sakuras.
Like,
I gotta be the opposite of that. 'Cause, like, I agree. I like Sakura in the war arc. I think that because I mean, don't get me honest to God, I was hyped whenever I saw Team 7 back together again, and I'm not gonna lie, that was partly due to Sakura. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that was actually a moment where I was like, you know what, like, okay, like get her to Naruto and Sasuke's level, or sub Naruto and Sasuke's level, and so but that thing is like I knew that she would be able to, actually be on par with them, at full extent. But like when I saw all three of them fighting together, I was like, okay, man, this is some serious crap. Like I'm totally on board with it, And again, it was partly due to Sakura being there. So, I mean,
that's what I mean by likable and coolness. You thought that was cool. You were happy to see it. I was too. But as a character, I didn't care as much. Not to say that there is no character with her wanting to catch up to those two because she's always lagging behind. I just didn't care as much. I cared more about it at the end of the Sasuke retrieval arc when Sakura was looking at what she's done wrong and being like, yeah, all I've done is watch you two do everything. I need to make a change. I cared more about that. That's just my opinion. I think that was more of a peak Sakura writing versus cool Sakura writing.
I like Sakura and Boruto. I think she's.
No, I agree. Sakura in Boruto is great because she has the same character arc, not arc, but the same thing as what Naruto has had the entire series. To where in Shippuden in part 1, she's going through a change arc. By the war arc, that change arc is done, and her struggle now is about staying consistent. Rather than changing, it's about trying to stay who she is, trying not to change, because she's reached a point to where she needs to stay at, and the world's trying to bring her back down to where she was previously. And she has to struggle against that conflict to remain who she is. So I think it's beautiful. Because you again, like you're saying, you like Sakura and Boruto because she's already at that end development like she was in the work. You compare adult Sakura, or even work Sakura, to part 1 Sakura, Kid Sakura, Academy Sakura, it's a night and day difference. And that didn't just happen randomly. That happened on screen over the course of the series. You got to see that development firsthand, from that giddy, innocent, naive child that had nothing, came from nowhere, into the completely matured adult, just character, female, whatever, that you have now. Just this adult in front of you that has so much wisdom, guided experience, based on all of the trials and tribulations he's fought and overcome. She's learned from her mistakes. She has actually developed as a character, and she's at that point now to where she's a fully fledged ninja, if you're going through the theme.
Now don't get me wrong, I'm hearing everything you're saying, and it's like it 100% makes sense. And it's like the thing is, in part 1, I forget, and I have to really remember sometimes that she is a kid. So it's like I never really care. I never really hate on part 1 Sakura. It's more of like because again she's like what 12, 13 years old. Like how was I at 13 years old? You know what I'm saying? So I could totally get it. Like her making random kind of offhanded decisions right off the get go, and like her maybe not making the best decisions, whatever. Again, it's a result of being a kid, and I think I'm on board with the consensus of most of the fandom during like the 5 Kage Summon arc, where she just doesn't make like the best decisions. And I understand that she's still relatively a kid. I think what most people are upset about in that aspect is the fact that even though she's a kid, she is still like a ninja. So like her like having to put these feelings in like for Sasuke at the forefront of her mind, which a lot of people are okay with, but are also like they kind of look at it, from what I've seen anyway, they look at it as an objective standpoint, like, what reason does like Sakura have to like Sasuke? You know, because they don't really have much in common if you really want to get down to it.
Well,
Um,
the series
and
itself
so
has already
like,
answered that in
and
the
so like,
novels, but it's funny you say that. I got like an hour-long video going over the psychoanalysis of Sakura's character and why her entire story, along with Sasuke, is beautiful. So if you remove Sakura from the story, say whatever you want about Sakura in isolation. If you take her in a vacuum, you can critique her as a character in that way. But she has a much, much larger role and the impact she plays on the story, the world around her. If you remove her from the story, it's hollow and empty shell of itself. What she does for Naruto and Sasuke's character alone, regardless of all the other characters, is insurmountable. It's inarguably needed for the story to go on. Whatever you want to say about the love triangle, I think it's good. But what they do for Naruto and Sasuke's character in particular, Naruto and Sasuke's character aren't great without Sakura. They're good, but they're not great. They aren't the legacy characters, iconic, that they're known as without her. So that in and of itself is an intrinsic value that you place onto Sakura's character in and of itself, regardless of taking her in an isolated vacuum, whatever. What she does for the story and for the characters is needed, necessary. I want to use words that I don't even use, like inachievable, but that's the opposite of true.
No, I mean, like, honestly, the best places to look would be the tuning exams and Sasuke retrieval arc. Like, there's a lot of like, yeah, okay, for example, even just something as simple as the Forest of Death, when Sakura's yelling at Sasuke, like after Naruto yells at him, and she's just like, say what you want about Naruto, but at least he's doing something. Like, she's literally the one who helped Sasuke get over his fear that he had, where he was always following Itachi, run away mindset. And he actually stands up to Orochimaru. That's literally, obviously Naruto plays a role, but like Sakura is the one who pushes him over the edge. And then you have the prelims situation where you start to see like Sasuke going down his path of vengeance, where it's like she's trying to stop him, but like they're having that like tense moment when Sasuke is like, "Yo, shut up! Like I need to do this fighting. I'm an Avenger." Blah blah blah. She's too ingrained.
No,
and then, of course, the promise of a lifetime.
No, and I totally get it. And honestly, I could take it a step forward, like a step further about whenever, because part of what makes Heavy Sasuke my favorite versions of Sasuke, probably the favorite version of Sasuke for me, is his complexity. Because he's a question mark, right? And you don't really ever know what he's thinking, at least in terms of like how he feels about the Leaf Village and still, because obviously he still holds like morals and principles of the Leaf Village in his heavy days, for the most part. But there is that side of him. It's like, okay, he says he's done with the Leaf Village, but is he really? And my point in bringing this up is that whenever Sai confronts Sasuke with Orochimaru and Kabuto in tow, and he like name drops both Naruto and Sakura. It's like one of those things like Sasuke has this look on his face like he's actually thinking about it. Like he doesn't want to hear their names because he knows that if he does, there's a part of him that will want to, reach back out or something like that, or like cave back into being happy or whatever, So like, and if I really had to think about it, man, I'm pretty sure that Sakura is the first person that gets these words out of Sasuke is thank you. Like, I don't think I've ever heard, looking back on it now, at least in part 1, like, I don't think I've ever heard Sasuke say thank you to Kakashi, to Naruto, to anybody else. But Sakura is the one that he says thank you to. And it's like, it's little things like that like show, like, it's like when Sasuke says sorry. It's like, yeah, all he says is sorry. Like literally just with a one word, sorry. But because it's coming from Sasuke, like that sorry is equivalent to like him dropping on his knees and asking for forgiveness. It's a weird thing to say, but like it is how what Sakura means to Sasuke, and it's even compounded by the fact even further that like I saw this interview. I don't know if this interview was recent or not. Someone asked Kishimoto like about a specific scene during the Tenchi Bridge arc when Sakura was actually like contemplating and going or at least what it seems before Yamato stepped in, but she was actually going to try to like make a move on Sasuke to do something, and Sasuke just stood there. And I think the interviewer was asking like, would Sasuke have actually harmed Sakura? And he said that no, I guess from what Kishimoto, I might be embellishing a little bit, but Kishimoto kind of said like no, like Sakura is the one person like that he like the one person that like pulled him from, not the one person, but like one of the integral figures of like who brought him happiness, and like he can't I don't think he could bring himself to actually harm Sakura, at least at that point. Like obviously 5 Kage Summon, it's a little bit different, but like at that point I don't think Sasuke would have actually hurt Sakura. So like, and the fact that he's willing to hurt Naruto, at least, you know, it does say something about like what Sakura means to Sasuke.
Yeah. I mean, Sakura definitely, she's directly involved in, if not directly responsible for, a great majority of the moments in the series. The things you're talking about, not only are they moments, they're tremendous plot points that are like some of the biggest plot points of the series. She's like directly responsible for like the majority of the moments. Regardless, like she's a connective tissue, a thread that guides the story together, linking it all together in such a beautiful and cohesive and articulate manner.
Yeah, you could look at somebody like whether you like it or not, like even something as simple as she's the reason Naruto is still fighting Gaara, and that's the reason why Naruto's tearing off Gaara's narrative mask about fighting for your friends while he's proving his point of what true strength is while Gaara's trying to fight back. You know, like, no, true strength is fighting for yourself. Like, Sakura's the reason this is happening.
Yeah.
The promise of a lifetime. Sakura's the reason that happened. Like,
I think what people like the consensus of like, I think people will mistranslate themselves when they say, and I'm guilty of this too, when they say that when they say that they wish Sakura was written better. I think what they mean to say, and personally what I mean to say, is I wish she had more to do. Not to say she doesn't do them enough. I talk about like in the grand scheme of like the battles and whatnot. I just feel like she does get sidelined in terms of.
I disagree.
You know, after the sorcery fight,
she was uncompromisingly
I
necessary for the story in the exact way that she was. Even in terms of plot, it doesn't make sense to change her based on what she does do. There's several times where she saves Naruto and Sasuke's lives. Just blatantly, just straight out. Like several times. Both of them. Not only that, she changes both of them so that they can save their own lives in the future as well. She's the one they fight for to continue their lives in addition. It's uncompromised. The things she does in the fights, not only defending them, but what she does to attack the opponents, to allow the opponents to not be available to attack Naruto and Sasuke in the future. Even her mistakes or whatever of, in the war arc, when she goes to attack Jubi Madara, she's working in tandem with Naruto and Sasuke because she's caught up with them. Sure, it's a mistake because she's trying to lead the way so that like Sasuke doesn't get hurt, and she has this whole like mental crisis at that moment, but even then she's doing something. Like, you cannot like what she's doing, but she's playing an active role in the story, literally taking the lead.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
I
in
wish she had
Sakura's
more
case,
to do, I guess.
I mean, part of the problem is when she takes a step back, it's not Sakura's story. No offense to Sakura. It's not Sakura's story in the pain arc. She shouldn't be the focus in the pain arc. She should do what she does, heals people. And when everyone's helplessly crying for Naruto to return, that's what she does. She's just the final one to call out for him. She shouldn't be. It's not her story. And then
in the series,
in the late war, the very end of the war, before the very, very end, for a while, it was Naruto and Sasuke. They were the two focus. Just as Kakashi was taking a backseat, so should Sakura, because it's not her story. At the very tail end of the Kaguya fight, it's Team 7 again. That's why she comes back. It's just, you have to look at, like, whose story is it supposed to be? It's not supposed to be Sakura. If she's too involved, that doesn't work for the Naruto Sasuke story. If she's
but the way I feel, the way I look at it though, it's like Sakura is still a main character. So it's like I get like I agree that she is central to the plot, and like she does there's stuff that she does that I overlook myself, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, I feel like all three of Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi have way more. Just from my perspective, just have way more to do. Like, but like perfect example, you said the pain arc. Like, yeah, like it makes sense. It does make sense for her to heal people or whatnot. But I would have liked to actually see her, engage in combat a little bit.
I mean, she
and
did.
I'm not necessarily like faulting her for screaming.
And in the opening.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about with the actual. Well, I'm talking about with like the actual pains though. Like I would have actually liked to see her like try to engage.
I'd consider Conan like an 8th pain.
No, Conan who fought Chino, but and hurt his dad. But I mean, something to be fair though, on one hand, in Shippuden, you get more Kakashi action, but in part 1, you did get more Sakura involvement in the plot. Like realistically, Kakashi's not there for the entirety of the Sasuke retrieval arc. He's quote unquote there in Konoha Crush in the tuning exams, but he's not really there to the story. He's fighting fodder sound Jonin, and that's in the Konoha Crush. In the tuning exams, he's not in the tuning exams. He's just watching the prelims. That's all he's there for. Whereas Sakura's there, all of that.
Kakashi wasn't present in the story, but because of Kakashi, the story was allowed to continue forward in the way it already was. Kakashi allowed us to focus on the story.
Yeah. And in the Sasuke retrieval arc, Kakashi's absence is essential to the story playing out how it did. Of course, like you get in the war. In the war, Kakashi has a lot more, but of course he does. Because Kakashi's story is directly tied to Obito's story, and that ties back to Naruto's story. It just isn't Sakura's story. She shouldn't. If you're not going to be in the story, it's the honest truth. You shouldn't be there too much in the plot.
Well, no, I totally agree, but it's like I've seen someone I can't remember what video it was on, but someone like literally verbatim. I remember saying this because I when I took a step back, I almost thought it myself. Whereas like he started saying like Kakashi is one of the best characters in the series, and the other guy he was talking to was like, oh, of course, and he's like, you know what? He's like, he kind of is the main character, and he's like, well, the other guy's like, well, no, I mean the show's called Naruto, and so, but the way that he was his explanation was like, if you take it back, like he's on screen in almost every single arc in Shippuden. And so it's like, it's one of those things like he gets so, and like the amount of screen time he does get in each arc is more or less like comparable to Naruto himself, with the exception of like maybe, and I'm trying to think of an arc that he doesn't really appear in like all that much.
Tenchi Bridge arc.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like that's like with the exception of the Tenchi Bridge arc, which I mean he does get some screen time in the beginning and the end of that arc. So it's like
I'm not gonna count that.
I mean, and somebody.
The whole point of removing him from that arc was
you,
because
I guess, but
Kishimoto didn't want Kakashi and Sasuke to confront each other in that arc, because he was saving that fight, or that, not even fight, but that confrontation, that moment, that interaction between them, that same dynamic of teacher versus student, the same thing as Hiruzen versus Orochimaru, he was saving that for the Kage Summon when it was needed for the story. Doing it here would have
we didn't even get that though.
Later, but no, we definitely did. You maybe didn't like the fight,
no,
but we got every narrative beat that we needed to get for that. And in like the fan animation,
it just wasn't finished. It's like, you know, you get to Orochimaru versus Hiruzen up until basically the Infinite Darkness Jutsu. You get up until there, then the fight stops. Basically, you just don't get the end with the Reaper Death.
Yeah, so it was.
Yeah,
the point was to see the decision.
I never say
the tragic irony. They didn't actually have to go through with completing the decisions. The point is to see what they were planning to do, what they would have done, how far they were willing to go, to see what actions they would have done. And even then, first, going back to Sakura, inaction is action. And inaction, doing that is still having a presence in the story. So something like Sakura not stabbing out Obito's eye, that is her being a main character, because it wasn't Hinata that didn't stab out Obito's eye, and versus Kaguya, Kiba wasn't the one that was there in the background, and even in like the tuning exams, it wasn't like Choji who was fighting Orochimaru or telling Sasuke to man up or whatever. It was always Sakura, even if she's not the one doing something. Her being there is enough because she's still the one driving the story forward, because those plot events still had to happen. The point wasn't Sakura didn't stab out Obito's eye. The point is that Obito's eye was there when Madara got there. That's the plot point. Sakura was the one who happened to be present in the story, not someone like Ino. It was Sakura. Why? Because she's the one that's relevant for the story. She is being the main character by being there. Even if you want to say she didn't do anything, her presence alone, her inaction literally drove the story forward, because Obito's eye couldn't have been stabbed out there. It doesn't matter who you put in that position.
I mean, this gets into likable versus unlikable. I understand completely people not liking this, but part of Sakura's character in many situations is the fact that she didn't do anything. She was unable to do anything. The Sasuke retrieval arc is the best example. At the end of the arc, she's like, I haven't done nothing. I need to change. Like, she literally comes to that realization. And then there's other times where it's just like Sakura was unable to react. She was unable to kill Sasuke. That's an important thing that happened. So part of Sakura's character, whether you like it or not, is not doing anything in certain situations. Her lack of action is part of the point.
Yeah, Daigo says,
and I get that. It's
go ahead.
no, go ahead.